gang? Welcome back to Late Night Conspiracies, everybody. Let's jump right into it. You might want to put your seatbelts on because I'm hearing the captain is not so happy about what's ahead. In other words, the turbulence gonna be pretty severe, okay? Real quick, shout out to the homie David, shout out to my channel. Thank you guys so much for your generosity and dropping the super thanks, the tips and all that. Appreciate the fives, thank you for that. You do not have to subscribe, you do not have to like the video. Let's get to it, roll it.
Joe and Elon dive into theories about why aliens likely aren't real. Elon believes there is no solid photographic evidence, and he makes some other compelling arguments to back up his disbelief. This is a conversation from episode number 1609.
You say the great filter. What did you mean by that?
Well, so there's something called like the Fermi paradox of like where are the aliens?
Yeah.
So yeah, where are the aliens? I think it was Carl Sagan that said like if there either are a lot of aliens or none, and they're equally terrifying.
Elon makes a strong case.
I mean, you know, for the sake of the argument, it does sound pretty interesting. And relax, we're gonna get to it, guys. There's also the UFO landing story in this video too. We're gonna get to it. But a lot of people would also say, hey man, you're the alien. That's what an alien would say. Aha! Gotcha right there. That's what an alien would say, that there are no aliens.
Pointing out that if aliens are real, there should be at least one clear, undeniable photo as proof. The two also discuss how ridiculously easy it is to manipulate images in today's digital age.
Sad, but true.
I want to be clear, like, to the best of my knowledge, there is no evidence for alien life on Earth. There's no evidence for alien life. There's no direct evidence for alien life. No, and if somebody says, oh, what about this alien for, sighting or whatever, I'm like, listen, it's got to be at least as good as a 7-Eleven or ATM cam, okay? It's like, if somebody's got to have at least like an iPhone 1 level camera, like something,
The problem with that is it's just too easy to fake things today too.
Sadly,
yeah, sure. At least try hard in faking.
With AI and advanced editing tools, it's nearly impossible to tell what's real and what's fake anymore. I mean, just look at this supposed image of an alien UFO. Are you convinced? In response to Elon's skepticism, Joe brings up a story about a military commander's encounter with a UFO, showcasing its advanced technological capabilities. But even with that, Elon remained completely unimpressed.
You familiar with Commander David Fravor's account of the Tic Tac
2004
UFO that he encountered off of the coast of San Diego?
In 2004?
Lex Friedman?
Yeah.
Lex Friedman interviewed him on his podcast, and I interviewed him as well. And if you ever get a chance to listen to Lex's conversation with him, it's really excellent. But this guy is a naval fighter pilot, and he talked about this thing that they tracked on radar that went from more than 60,000 feet above sea level to 1 foot in less than a second. Shaped like a Tic Tac, no visible sign of propulsion, blocked radar, actively jammed their tracking systems, and then went to their predetermined point that they were supposed to, the fighter jet was supposed to scramble to. Went to it 30 miles.
That's crazy, right? Like, if you have heard this before, basically, in other words, the fighter jets, so let's just say they were supposed to be at the location number B, and they saw the UFO in between point A and point B. And essentially, the fighter jets were just mesmerized, Commander Fravor were mesmerized, the pilots were mesmerized by it, and then it disappears. So they're like, okay, well, we need to go to B. So let's go to B. But before they go to B, they hear that the UFO that they saw that disappeared a couple of seconds ago, it is already at the location number B. Location number B. I'm joking around, but I'm not joking around about that. It was already at, so this is why he said predetermined. So it makes you think, man, like, shit. It
was away in, a couple seconds. Like, they have no idea how it did it. They don't know what it is.
Okay.
And these guys that were working for the Navy off the coast said they had encountered them several times. They didn't know what they were. They didn't know what to do.
Well, do they have they just did photo nothing. Or something? I mean,
they do. They have video of it.
Okay.
They have video of it. They have. There's. You ever see the New York Times article that came out in 2017 about this stuff?
No.
I don't. No.
The conversation shifts as Joe poses a very interesting question. If aliens exist, would they even want to reveal themselves to us? Elon responds with a sarcastic remark. Joe pushed the question further, asking Elon how often he thinks about aliens as he prepares to take humanity to Mars. But Joe is shocked by Elon's response.
Do you think that they would want us to know? Or do you think they would just be observing and making sure we don't blow ourselves up? Would
I don't know, man. They're real
civilization.
They sure are subtle. I mean, if they wanted us to know, obviously they could just,
For sure.
show up and walk down Main Street,
Right.
like, hey, I'm an alien, check me out,
That is quite profound. I mean, he's being sarcastic, but there's levels to this shit, right? Because if you're like knee deep into the topic, even if you are or not, let me just give it to you straight, okay? Let me give it to you. Pause. I'm gonna give it to you raw, give it to you straight. Recently, whether you want to believe it or not, we covered in a video too, but just recently during a Congress meeting, I don't remember the name of the guy, but the guy came out during a Congress meeting, and this went viral. I made a video on it already, and a lot of other YouTubers also covered the story. The guy during a Congress meeting said that he's aware of 4 different alien kinds that are currently present on Earth. Oh, shit. The Greys, the Nordics, and essentially the Nordics are very much like us, whether you want to believe it or not. That's the accounts of the whistleblower, and again, like, is it believable, is it not? Do you want to believe it, do you want to not believe it? I feel like that you should not dismiss it, but don't believe everything you hear, for sure, right? Because we need evidence, we demand answers, but very fascinating stuff. So he said 4 different alien kinds, insectoids being another one, and there's like the reptilians as well. Yeah, and I covered the story, recently, and my video actually ended up getting those YouTube Wikipedia clause, like, you know what I'm saying? YouTube put that clever little clause. Yeah, whenever you mention reptilian, they do it, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Maybe this time they will, maybe they will not. I guess it's to do with the description and the titles as well. I had that in the previous videos, so it's going to be interesting, right? So he talked about those 4 different kinds that are present on Earth, and Nordics essentially look like us, okay? So it's going to be very hard to say whether it's a human, a Homo sapien, or an alien twat. And Elon literally just kind of joked about that, essentially.
Right.
Here's my spaceship, I just land in the middle of Times Square. I'll be like,
Right.
Okay.
Or hover over downtown LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be like, okay, we believe you.
Yeah.
So whatever they are very subtle, these aliens.
How often do you think about it?
None, 0.
0? Even though you're thinking about interplanetary
Psych.
travel, you don't really think about aliens.
No, I mean, if they show up, I'm like, great, okay, now this is new information. But we...
He probably an alien then, huh?
Yeah.
What an interesting way of putting it. This is new information.
This is new information. Like, where were you guys up till now?
To end this segment, Elon demands concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life. He argues,
I can respect that. Like, truthfully, objectively, looking at this from an objective lens, I can respect that. And in other words, like we have been saying, we demand answers. We demand answers. The taxpayer demands answers, okay? I'm in Canada, so I demand answers from the Canadian government right now, okay? And you should demand answers from your government too. We all demand answers, all right? Nah, man, truthfully though, we demand answers, bro. Like, what the hell, bro? We should have
that while archaeologists have uncovered many ancient artifacts, none of them point to advanced technology that humans couldn't have achieved at that time.
I mean, we have archaeologists going all over the world looking at things. Where there's this people... Like, if we were to find something like, let's say, like a cube of titanium, just like a 1-inch cube of titanium, say, in the middle of the pyramid, I'd be like, aliens for sure. There's no way they could have made titanium back then. There's no way. That's hard. That's all. One doesn't even need a computer. Like, a computer would be like, hey, wow, computers, they didn't have computers back then, so it must be aliens. But even just like some advanced metallurgy, anything, like, we would say anything like that.
Right. Nothing like that that we could point to that we can't do.
Everything that we found archaeologically is consistent with the time, the technology they had at that time.
Archaeologically.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're just talking about old stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just throughout history. It's not like...
Yeah.
Like if aliens visited, there'd be something buried somewhere, you'd think. We haven't seen anything. So, anyway. I mean, maybe there are aliens, but they're very subtle. If there are, they're just very... they're being pretty shy.
Up next, Joe Rogan and physicist Michio Kaku discuss the recent change in how UFO sightings are evaluated and perceived. Michio believes that the burden of proof has shifted. In the past, it used to fall on UFO believers to prove what they saw was real, but now the responsibility is on institutions like the Pentagon and the military to prove that these sightings are not extraterrestrial. This is a
And people do want the truth from the government, but deep down people also have this, and myself included, like people not gonna believe everything that comes out from the government, so makes sense, right? Like if tomorrow they come out and they say that, yeah, we found alien life, like we have been studying these UFOs, we have made reverse engineered craft, or whatever they say, right? People are gonna be like, hey, so you knew, right? Why did you lie then? Are you lying now? So there's, that aspect to it. So yeah, there will always be distrust or mistrust, which is the correct way to say distrust or mistrust? Whatever.
a conversation from episode number 1828.
Right. See, it used to be that one person would see something in the sky and say, look, Martha, look, there's something up there. Now things have changed. Now we have multiple sightings by multiple modes. That is the gold standard. The gold standard for looking for these objects. Not just one person, but several people that are reputable. Not just radar, but visual sighting, infrared sensors, telescopic evidence. Now we have multiple sightings by multiple modes. And so the burden of proof has shifted. It used to be the burden of proof was on the people who believed in UFOs. They saw something, prove it. Now the burden of proof has shifted to the Pentagon, to the military. Now they have to prove that these aren't extraterrestrial.
Lol.
And so I think there's been a sea change in the last just several years.
Michio emphasizes the dramatic shift in how UFOs are perceived and studied over the past 50 years. UFOs are now analyzed as potential military threats due to their advanced technological abilities.
50 years ago, there was a congressional hearing, and it was coming out of Project Blue Book. And there was a lot of laughter and a lot of jokes about little green men in outer space. 50 years ago, that's the way it was. Now, things have changed. Now people are looking at are they a threat militarily? What kinds of sensors do we have? What kind of metrics do we have? We now have frame by frame an analysis of these objects. These objects travel between Mach 5 and Mach 20.
Ooh.
That's 20 times the speed of sound.
Yeah, crazy.
These objects can zigzag, and we can measure the G-force inside this object. The G-forces are several hundred times the force of gravity. In other words, any living person's bones would be crushed by these objects, so they're probably drones of some sort. These objects can drop 70,000 feet in a few...
Or, if you're inside it, you do not feel the G's at all, which would be a miracle in itself, or maybe they have figured out something that it's just currently impossible for us. Maybe one day we'll figure it out too.
Few seconds. Think about that. It can drop a tremendous distance in just a few seconds, and they can go underwater. This is something that we didn't realize before, but yes, they can actually go underwater.
And that's the thing, a lot of people do also believe, and I want to know like your thoughts too. Like, do you think that they come from the ocean? Do you think they have bases underwater in the oceans, or do you think that they come from the space, or do you think it's a little bit of both? Now, personally, like, I do believe that because based off of what we've seen, witnessed, and we've seen videos of UFOs like actually going underwater. We've heard stories that at one point a UFO was doing 500 knots in water, all right, in ocean, and it was not disrupting the water flow either, which is just insane to think about, right? 500 knots underwater. Holy smokes, that ain't no dang jokers, okay? And we've seen videos of UFOs taken by astronomers, like, young astronomers, amateur astronomers, right? Capturing UFOs in space too, and we had ISS footage too, where every time something that looks like a UFO would come into frame, they would just completely cut the feed. I'm talking NASA officially, never a straight answer, in other words. So yeah, I do believe that they come from space too, but they probably have bases in ocean too. So yeah, they go underwater, they come out of it, or maybe they actually are underwater and they have the ability to go to space. Maybe that's it. Listen, I don't know the answers. I'm just trying to put two and two together. We demand, this is why we demand answers.
And they also move without creating an exhaust or breaking the sound barrier.
That as well.
To be frank, after hearing everything Michio described, it's almost impossible to imagine how we could even stand a chance against these aliens if it ever came to that. Their tech is so far beyond anything we have, it's like bringing a knife to a laser fight.
And check this one out. UFO landing in Zimbabwe.
Up next, Joe Rogan is mind blown by James Fox's story about a group of students at a local school in Zimbabwe, Africa. The students not only witnessed a UFO landing on their playground, but also claim to have communicated with the aliens through telepathy. This is a conversation from episode number 1574.
I was doing my first documentary back in 1997 when I was just naive enough to think I can get an interview with Steven Spielberg. We had a mutual friend involved, this woman Janet. And she gets back to me and she's like, yeah, so Spielberg's definitely not going to meet with you, but he knows you're working on this UFO documentary. He thinks you should look into this landing case that happened in Africa at the school. And I said to myself at the time, and remind you guys that I was making a film on UFOs. And I dismissed it so quickly because I thought, there's no way that a mass landing with the sheer volume of eyewitness testimony at a school in broad daylight could happen and the whole world not know about it. So I just walked away from that story for about 10 years.
James later found his way back to the story a decade later when he met a man named Randall Nicholson. At the time, Randall was investigating the UFO landing case at the school in Africa. Intrigued, Randall invited James to collaborate on a small piece of the story.
So I got back into it. I licensed some of the footage that Dr. John Mack, the Harvard psychiatrist that came and interviewed the school children on camera within a week of it happening. He unfortunately looked the wrong way in London, got run down by a car and died. Ooh. So I contacted the institute.
No. Oh shit. Coincidence? I don't think so, bro. And I've heard of this Zimbabwe landing of UFO story back then too. And this is a fascinating one where we've had so many different kids describing almost pretty much the same thing. Okay, there were drawings because people came in, they told them their story, so they started drawing these beings or whatever they saw, and it was very consistent. And now these at that time these kids back then, now these kids are all grown up and they still say the same thing. So honestly, this is a very much believable story, because they never changed their story. And back when it allegedly happened, they were kids, and they, not just one, not just two, but multiple of them described the same thing. So I don't think it was imagination. If so, we're talking about multiple kids having the same imagination. Nah, right? Like, come on now, right? So this is a very fascinating one. And I guess they didn't want the guy sharing that story, so they must have killed him.
Institute with the help of Randall Nicholson and got run down by a car and died. So I contacted the Institute with the help of Randall Nicholson. I licensed the archival footage. We tracked down the witnesses today. We flew them in from all different corners of the world, brought them together. A lot of them were standing right next to each other. They came face to face, and one of the things I've realized was that there were roughly 100 kids in the playground, broad daylight, aerial school, Rua, Zimbabwe, 1994, and they got within arms, some of them within arm's length of these beings, and brought these witnesses together for the first time in 20 years. And a lot of them hadn't even told their significant others, just because they said they were tired of having to defend this. And I myself didn't.
These are big claims, understandably, right? Like, for example, like if somebody comes out to me and says like, yeah, they saw an alien twat, like a bozo, a bimbo, just like standing next to them, landing in their backyard or whatever, yeah, cool story. Even though I'm a believer, like I don't think we're alone. I know some of you are believers too, some of you are not. That's perfectly fine. We all got different beliefs, and some believe it, some don't. Some require evidence, simple as that, okay? And understandably, the bigger the claims, the bigger the evidence needed to help support those claims. So yeah, anybody can come out and be like, yeah, they saw an alien bimbo, alien twat. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Show us the evidence. Show us the videos. Show us. So yeah, totally makes sense though. And if you ever say something like that you actually saw an alien twat and bimbo, people not gonna believe you. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta support it with evidence.
Didn't believe it when I first heard about it back in 1990. Having to defend this, and I myself didn't believe it when I first heard about it back in 1997.
Joe talks about how real and
Understandably.
emotional the Ariel School UFO incident feels. He explains that the kids who saw it weren't actors. They couldn't have faked their reactions. Their stories seemed way too real to be made up.
It's so compelling because
And with 100 kids seeing it and saying that, that's when it's just a lot more believable, because we're talking about kids saying that, not like a grown-up saying that, where, you know, they can actually make shit up. Not saying a kid wouldn't be able to make shit up, but I mean the likelihood is minimal. People, you can say imagination, but you got hundreds of kids saying the same thing or almost the same thing. So there is consistency there.
the children are all clearly, they're not actors. So as they're adults later, they're all talking about this moment, and it's like they had a religious experience together. Like they're all sharing it and talking about it, and you could tell it's like it's a deeply moving experience. If they were actors, they wouldn't have been able to do such a good job, because to convey the reality of that moment to them, to be able to have this interpretation of this event where they're all consistent in the story and they're all clearly still shook by this moment. It's really
And now we're seeing them all grown up. So they are those kids, right? If I'm not mistaken.
interesting, because if you had that scene in a movie, it would take like a really good actor to pull it off, and they'd probably need multiple takes. They'd probably want to get the best one. But those kids, the way they were talking about it and the way they were drawing it, you're like, wow, it really does seem like something happened to them.
Yeah.
Take a look at some of the drawings made by the children who witnessed the UFO landing. Just
Dang.
like the school in Zimbabwe, James shares another fascinating story of a UFO encounter at a different school. And this time, it wasn't just the kids, a school teacher also witnessed the landing.
During the production of the film, Paula Harris actually turned me on to another landing case that happened in Australia in
Yeah, that one too.
1966
That
at
one
a
as well.
school. And this time there were roughly 300 witnesses that saw a disc
And military was involved too in that case. Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, dang.
land right outside a playground in Australia. And we went to Australia and investigated that case, went to the landing site, talked to eyewitness testimony, people that jumped the fence at the school playground and ran over to where this thing landed. And then we even interviewed a guy who snapped a photograph of a disc, a Polaroid, back in 1966, 2 days prior to the incident. So it's very probably that we have a photograph.
Flying saucer mystery. School silent. What was it? So that's like the actual newspaper. Cold Start 228. Clayton. After more than a week of investigation, mystery still surrounds the reported sighting last Wednesday of a flying saucer near the Westfall High School, Clayton. Investigation of the report have been hampered by the reluctance of school authorities to permit interviews with eyewitness students and staff members. Several children attending the school and at least one class member, there might be cut off there, so you gotta maybe there's something else that was written there. Staff member are reported to have seen the unidentified flying object. Damn.
We have photographic evidence, we have eyewitness testimony, and for the first time we've got testimony from a science teacher.
Here's the Polaroid image of the UFO James is talking about.
So that was captured like 2 days prior to that incident back in 1966 in Australia at that school's playground where 300 kids allegedly saw that thing. And then military was involved following that incident, and they were like snooping around. Yeah, nah, I heard about this story before, bro. Nah, man, there is no way, bro. Like, damn, man. It probably gonna be hidden somewhere in the classified documents of Australia. The Australian government probably hiding that from the Australian taxpayers. Let me know if any Australian watching this. But did you see this one though? Yeah, click on this video on the screen, because in this one we explored a couple different other conspiracies as well, or theories, or whatever you wanna say. And there's one where military general talked about these UFOs actually messing with 10 different nuclear missiles. Yeah, check it out. It's a pretty wild one. So